afternoon / good evening. This is Luca Mino. I am the technical and audiovisual director, editor, and also an investigative journalist for TLB. I have my own show on TLBTV now called Learn to Unlearn for a very good reason. This particular show is another good one of them. I'm here today with Frank Gregory Ford, 3 decades in the military. He's got a lot to talk about today, and I want to give him the floor right away. We wanted to hit on 3 things in particular as I look at my iPhone for notes real quick. 3 things that are really pressing in the news today, the issues like Nixon's World Revisited. It's a pretty interesting one I hear today. The Russian-Israeli mob, and also I wanted to talk about bridging the gap, possibly more between people that really don't have a clue of what's going on and that want to get into all this and maybe help them to avoid causing problems for themselves and going down the wrong roads and what have you, and trying to get awake as quick as we can in this world that's changing so rapidly. Greg, welcome.
Yes, thank you, Luca. Always glad to be here, especially today.
Right.
Okay. So, okay, what do you think your listeners would like to know first? Whether we have a Manchurian candidate in the Oval Office, who's out to get him, who's he in the crosshairs of? Okay, what would you like to know first?
The most important thing that's on your heart that you want to get out there, because that's, you know, my point, and the biggest weight I'd like this show to have is that we cut through all the stuff that's all on the surface, and we get to what the foundation of the problems are. And you've known that for so long, and it's easier. It's a lot easier for people like me to now. I can put the pieces together easier. So,
okay, great. Well, let's go ahead and get this show rolling. First of all, yeah, this week I became the proud new father of a Supreme Court case. All right, it is registered now. Your listeners can go on site. They can pull up my Supreme Court case, and most people's jaws drop when they read it. Okay, now that doesn't mean that the Supreme Court's going to do what they're supposed to do or obey the law. Okay, basically, you know, the Supreme Court's there to make sure that the government doesn't have to obey the law. All right, so your listeners can go look at that case. All right, and I'm always available through your show to answer questions. Okay, this case is basically whether your government, okay, has the right to engage in organized crime, all right, to make money using the military, using false flags attacks called, they call it terrorism. Okay, we all know that, and judging by the results of the most recent lobbying efforts by the 9/11 Truth Committee, which shows that yes, the Saudi Arabians did pay for the attack on New York City at the World Trade Center, and it was led by Prince Bandar al bin Sultan. Okay, so that's all coming out. Thank goodness it's coming out. Okay, but the thing is these people that are feeding at the public trough, the U.S. government trough, they move faster, okay, than most of us who are tied up making a living. That's why they can do it. We're tied up making a living, and they're tied up trying to make a living off of us, the taxpayers, the U.S. citizens. All right, so that's why these issues, you know, take forever, and usually by that time, you know, oh, the person that did this, like George H.W. Bush, oh, he's just too old to prosecute. Okay, yeah, he should be making license plates and doing something to, you know, to what do they like to say about when somebody's doing time? They do their time, they paid their debt to society. Oh, right, George Bush, George W. and George H.W. can really pay their debt, right, to the disaster that they've reaped upon America and the American people. All right. So, yeah, without much ado, let's get started here. Okay. Yeah, I can hardly pick up a copy of the New York Times, and I find today, yes, surprise, Donald Trump is in trouble. Okay. No, yes, he's a smart man, but he's not that smart. okay? He needs to understand about history, and history is going full circle, okay? So what we have is a situation here where I can say this because I was 18 years old at the time when all of this started. What's played up right to today, I was 18 years old on presidential security, okay? The presidential security team at the Western White House, San Mateo Point, San Clemente, California, all right? I was on the unit called Point Divide, all right? That was the security unit. So I was there in 1975, and when Mr. Richard Milhouse Nixon, our president at the time, was battling something called Watergate. Well, I think it's about time we all look back in history, because history goes full circle. No matter what you think, there's nothing new about any of this we're seeing today, okay? And the constant in this, there's two constants. One, at the time when Richard Nixon and Watergate was blowing up, and we were sitting at the White House, Western White House, trying to figure out where all this was coming from. You know, we're dumb, but we're not stupid, you know, on presidential security, okay? And we're supposed to be apolitical, but it's hard when you go turn on the TV, that's all you see, and you pick up a magazine or newspaper, that's all you see. So it wasn't making sense at the time, all right? So what happened then was something called Hillary Rodham, okay? And we all know her and love that little tousle-haired scamp, okay? Just like her husband, all right? You know, the girl next door. Oh my goodness, okay? Well, Hillary was busy ranting and raving, okay, about Richard Milhouse Nixon not deserving, at the taxpayer's expense, any legal representation while he was being investigated for, quote, the Watergate break-in. Well, since we were all fairly close to the sitting president at that time, and he always said he had nothing to do with the Watergate break-in, and here's why. He was already ahead in the polls. He didn't need that information that was supposedly in there, okay? And another explosive item that I just found out was Daniel Ellsberg, okay? Daniel Ellsberg, guess what? He was part of a CIA, because he was CIA. That Daniel Ellsberg, yes. You know, the quiet hero, the man who stood up and stood against the tide. Guess what, Mr. Ellsberg? Secret's out. Guess what? It's known now that he was part of the initial issue of the Watergate break-in, which was done by CIA burglars, okay? Burglars, yes. I dealt with a lot of them when they went to Terminal Island Prison to serve out their very tough prison sentence, okay? Hard time. Well, the only thing hard they got was in the showers, and that's about it, okay? So we have a situation here where Hillary Rodham Clinton, okay, I say that like an echo, all right, was ranting and raving, and she finally got fired from that job, that position. Well, if we just let it go at that, Richard Nixon would have finished out his term as president, and that would have been that. It would have been a footnote. But he made the mistake of firing the special prosecutor. Gee, where have we heard this now? Like in the last 24 hours, okay? He fired somebody who was finally figuring it out, okay, putting it all together, how Prescott Bush, oh, gee, dear old dad, okay, he pops his sinister viper's head up, okay? Prescott Bush was the mentor, okay, of Richard Nixon. And Prescott Bush was the founder, along with Averell Harriman, of, guess what? The CIA. Oh, we're going around in full circle here. The CIA, okay? That's what Archibald Cox was seeing, was the fact that Richard Nixon attempted to do away with, WMD, weapons of mass destruction. And who is the largest maker of weapons of mass destruction privately in the world? Guess who? Do I need to say it, Mr. George H.W. Bush? Okay. Yes.
Oh, by the way, you said the Harriman brothers. I just got to throw this in. Guess who laid rail in and out of Auschwitz?
Oh no, no. And guess who supplied the gas at Auschwitz? Homeboy, Rhodey.
Oh.
Don't you know me? Okay, there it is.
Okay.
God. And guess who identified the Jews? Okay, to be rounded up and sent to the camps. Guess which system they used, Mr. IBM? Okay. All right. So, gee, these folks, they never stop, do they? They never quit. The robber barons were programmed genetically to do exactly that. They don't have countries. I don't know how to explain this to your listeners. They don't have countries.
This is exactly, I don't want to interrupt. This is exactly another reason why this show is put on foot, or I don't know how to say that in English. In French, you say that's why it's put on the train. That's another reason for its existence. It's that I want to be able to explain the unexplained. Like you have a set of people thinking this, and you have another set of people thinking this, and they don't understand each other. In a really good movie called Clear Cut, you hear that. It's like the fish trying to talk to the oil tanker, right? And the two sides cannot talk to each other. And this is what I really like seeing, because I can actually, if you step back and you can actually put them side by side, they're polar opposite. And, this is what's so fascinating. The other thing is not to talk about opinion. We need to talk about truth and only truth, verifiable truth, because an opinion is like everybody's, whatever they call it that they sit on. Everybody has one, right?
That's correct.
There's only one truth, and this is another reason why this show is put together. So it's really good to have you to talk about stuff like that, Greg, and it's really important that this stuff comes out. So
absolutely. Well, what does the fish and the super tanker have in common? They always have, all of these issues always have something in common. The fish and the tanker have water in common. Okay. So yes, so we have so much in common here with these senior stellar statesmen. Okay. I mean, what can I say about these people other than they're monsters? Most of them never learned how to spell treason. Okay. Subterfuge. All right. I mean, killing millions. Okay. That doesn't bother these people in the slightest. I don't know what I can do to get this point across on your show, Luca. They don't care. All right. Those are my
three words. They don't care. You're stealing my line now. Come on.
Yeah. And the thing that I'm sure now that is the only thing keeping Poppy Bush. Oh, gee, that's so warm and fuzzy. Poppy Bush alive is a son of a bitch knows there's something waiting for him on the other side. All right. Mr. Bush, I can personally attest that there is something waiting for you, especially on the other side. All right. So what we have here now is a situation where, yes, the CIA was entirely responsible for taking down Mr. Richard Milhouse Nixon. All right. It was nothing he did. He made the first SALT agreements to remove weapons of mass destruction from the world. That's nuclear, biological, and chemical weapons. Guess who was making Cyclone B and VX gas and sarin? Care to answer that, Mr. Bush? Okay. Yes. And so here along comes poor Mr. Nixon trying to do something for America, do something for the citizens, trying to make America a kinder, gentler place. Where have we heard that before? All right. Well, surprise, he was interrupting and screwing around with Bush business of making billions of dollars. By the way, do you think the Bush family are millionaires? Oh, sure they are. You think they're billionaires? Oh, sure they are. Guess what, folks? They're the first trillionaires in history. The whole family. They're trillionaires. Okay? That's more money than I've ever made. All right? And I, the money I've made wasn't from slaughtering millions of people, wasn't from setting up hideous black operations networks all over the world. It wasn't from running cocaine up from Colombia from South America into the U.S., running in crack cocaine. Do these sound familiar? If they don't, let's ask Mr. Webb, Gary Webb. Okay.
Oh, he died. Oh, right.
Oh, that's right. He committed suicide twice. Okay, that's right. Okay, so what we have here now is a situation, and I hope Mr. Trump is listening, Mr. Trump. Okay. And by the way, you better apologize to Mr. Assange. He's been the only political analyst that I know of that is 100% right. Okay, everything he says, it's 100% right. Just ask Sarah Palin about her secret bank accounts that she didn't want anybody to know about. Okay, she would agree with me. All right. So what we have here now is this. Okay, is Poppy Bush. Okay, sure he killed Kennedy. There's no question about that. I don't think anybody doubts that.
No.
Okay. Oh, and by the way, another thing for Mr. Poppy Bush, while I think about it, is this coming week, guess who's going to be giving a detailed description of the accountant of Mr. Carlos Marcello, Joseph Carlos Marcello. Okay. Yes, his son. Okay, complete with documentation showing how Mr. Poppy Bush was involved in it all. Okay, that viper. All right, what can I say? But anyway, here it is. Okay, so we go, okay, years later. Let's jump ahead a little bit. We have somebody named Hillary Rodham Clinton, who has been the darling of the Bush family, made 10% off their cocaine importation fees at Mena, Arkansas. Okay, all right. Her husband turns right around and sells the Chinese ballistic missile, intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, okay, telemetry to the Chinese. The Chinese. We're not talking, number one, number two. We are talking some serious telemetry here, okay? All the research that it takes to get a multi-MIRV warhead, all right, from point A to point B, okay, go through the troposphere, crash through the stratosphere, and come down within a 10-digit grid square area, all right? That's what Mr. What's his name? Slick Willie, William Jefferson, okay? What a guy. What a guy. He's another one who doesn't know how to spell treason either, all right? Because he sold that telemetry, overrode the NSA safeguards against such a thing. How he managed to do that without being impeached. Oh, we're hearing that word now again. Impeached, okay? And surprise, for a few donations to the, what was this? The William Jefferson Benevolent Fund? Okay, another one, all right?
Right.
So what we have here, is looking at this now, is the Chinese, okay, are players, yes, and the NSA, who, by the way, monitors all communications, covert and overt communications, not the CIA, the NSA, okay? So what we have is a situation where, yes, there is micro messaging going on between the Russians and the Trump Foundation, okay? Sure, all right? I never said Mr. Trump has clean hands. Who has clean hands that, works for the Russian-Israeli syndicate, okay? That's the Achilles heel we're seeing here. That's what James Comey knows about. That's why he's willing to talk about it, okay? The biggest boo-boo, okay, that Mr. Trump has pulled so far, okay, he's got to pull others, okay, because there's too much hubris here to take advice, okay? But the one consistent thing is we have Hillary Clinton here, okay, who knows he's dirty, and she's as dirty as he is. No, but the thing is that's what's going on right now. NSA knows all about this micro messaging, cryptologic system that has been bouncing back and forth. Okay, and if he would come clean and just talk about his business dealings, Trump would, yes, he wouldn't be on the hot seat like he's about to be. Okay, and by the way, a little trivia, okay, down memory lane here. Mr. Comey, I ended up, when I came back from showing the evidence and producing the evidence of weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, guess where that evidence went to? He had just been sworn in 2 months. Mr. James Comey. So yes, he does know about the Bush-produced weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, all right, that were used on the Kurds, that were used on the Iranians and the Shatt al-Arab waterway. Okay, yes, he knows about that because I told Mr. Comey. He has that information. I told him. So what we have is a situation with Mr. Bush. Okay, he knows something's up, all right, and he thinks it's because Mr. Comey knows about the Russian-Israeli crime syndicate employment that he has. Okay, very bad. I really, really wish, and I found out this the hard way, is when I was in the intelligence field, for 3 decades, I asked my supervisor one time, because my job was chasing spies, and the biggest chunk of spies, are sitting there calling themselves representatives, congressmen, senators, okay, and the like. All right. I asked my supervisor. I said, "Wait, what is all this dirt we see, on people like George W. Bush, okay, George H.W. Bush, okay, it goes on and on. Obama, yes, Obama didn't even have a social security number, okay, it was of a dead man in Pennsylvania the whole time he was president of the United States. Oh, nobody knew that? Yes, we should have vetted him very closely, and we would have found out that, yeah, Mom, dear old Mom, okay, bless her heart, she worked and ran death squads in Indonesia, okay, during the Sukarno regime, okay? Why didn't that come out on our background? All right, it should have. And I was told for this simple reason, is by the time that these people get into the position of running for the presidency of the United States, they have to have dirt or they're not acceptable. They're not controllable. So that's why I know beyond all shadow of doubt that, first of all, gee, does anybody doubt this, that Donald Trump is dirty? Okay, of course he is. Gosh, he's accused now of working with the Russians, and his son-in-law is saying, oh, hi, all well met, hail fellow, oy vey, to Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu, okay? Oh, hey, long time no see, road dog, kosher road dog, okay? Gee, okay, there's your Israeli connection, bigger than life. There's your Russian connection, bigger than life. Does that need to be said who's been running this world for quite a while? It's the Russian-Israeli mob. And as I always tell your listeners, okay, Luca, please, don't believe me. Don't believe me. Don't get angry at me. Go pick up a book. Go, access some database online, okay, and find out, hey, yes, this is the scariest thing ever. This is all true, okay? But find out for your listeners, find out for themselves. That makes a stronger, smarter, tougher listener. That's what I want in all of this, okay? Don't believe me, okay? So go do some research on your own instead of getting sanctimonious and self-righteous. Please don't. Go research yourself and you'll find out, yes, of course, Mr. Trump is dealing with the Russians. No question about it, okay? But the thing is, guess who is behind the agency who's got Mr. Trump in its crosshairs right now? And they're going to get him. They're experts at bringing down presidents, all right? The agency brings down presidents, okay? Yes, no problem. Just ask the Kennedy family if that's not to be believed. Okay, and by the way, in the next few days, I'm going to find out what countries signed off on the Kennedy assassination. Yes, so much for a lone gunman. If he was a lone gunman, why do I have 6 documents showing what countries signed off on the assassination of JFK. Hey, Mr. China. Hey, Mr. Winston Churchill. Okay. Guess what? Your names are in there. All right. So that's what we have here is a situation where the Chinese now, okay, have been cutting deals. They got all those great deals from the Clinton family. Okay. And who's still running for president? Little Hillary. Big wide eyes, big cute plastic smile, okay? But have you seen those cheek inserts of hers lately? Oh my goodness, gosh. She's as cute as the girl next door, okay? All she needs is freckles, all right? So.
Pretty much.
Yeah, so that's what we have here is she is the poster girl for the agency and for the Bush family. Who do you think she picked up the phone when it looked like she was going down on the make-believe, what is it, electoral college vote? Who do you think she picked up the phone and called? Do you think she called her constituency to notify that she was going to, surrender the race? Okay, concede, I think they call it, concede. No, she picked up the phone and called Houston, to her daddy, Mr. George H.W. Bush, and told the CIA to generate more votes, which they did. And it still wasn't enough because guess what? The Russians know Americans better than Americans do. And they were able to manipulate that vote. Okay? That's all there is to do. And yes, Mr. Comey knows this. He's nobody's fool. He's not an idiot. Okay? He's not some ass-kissing, backstabbing son of a bitch, that expects this full adoration from the American public. No, absolutely not. No, he knows exactly what goes on, and he knows about the Bush family because he got it from me. That's how I know he has it. He got it. Every night there was a report on my briefing, okay, weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and the brutality and torture of Copper Green. Remember Copper Green, Mr. Bush, okay? So much for the kinder, gentler America that we all would like to go back to of Norman Rockwell. Ain't gonna happen, folks, all right? Not as long as you're sitting around rotating on your thumbs, okay? That's the problem is we've let these people get away with it. Now is the time to stop it, okay?
And yeah. I think one of the best tools that we have at our disposal is the internet. With the knowledge that we have now, it should be illegal not to use it to our advantage and not to be able to. A lot of people are saying that the people deserve what's coming, the people that don't do the work. I go even further. I tell them that not only do they deserve it, but they're enabling it to happen by sitting on their thumbs and not doing anything. And if you really do your work, and I suggest that you narrow down your fields of interest and choose your battles wisely, which is what I'm doing. And that circle gets smaller, and then you can get better at things in that circle. One of them that most people don't know about that I love talking about on shows like this is something called the Frankfurt School of Social Engineering. And people go, what? The what? The Frankfurt School of Social Engineering. That's working a plan through the Rothschild Zionist dynasty to dumb down the world and to just, make us a bunch of slaves. And some of the stuff that you're saying is on there, Greg. The creation of racism offenses, continually changing the scenario to create confusion, huge immigration to destroy national identity. And now the fabric of the family, they're getting even more personal. The dumbing down of the media, the allowing them to be able to lie. It's all part of the agenda. It's all like, oh, there's one strand of the web. Oh, there's another one. And you recognize them as you go along. It's fascinating stuff. So, like Greg says, don't take our word for it. Just do your research yourself.
That's what is going on, and this is history. I do have an advantage, Luca. And your listeners probably have forgotten about it. But the situation is such right now is that, yes, I was there originally when all this nonsense started, okay? I'm no spring chicken, but there are certain advantages to not being a spring chicken, okay? first of all, spring chickens tend to get slaughtered, all right? But secondly, in this case, yes, I saw it firsthand. I know, much to Hillary's chagrin, I saw her ranting and raving, and I actually know what Richard Nixon said about not trusting the East Coast. What was it? What did he call it? The East Coast establishment. Okay.
Okay.
They're all based out of Yale. Okay. Skull and bones. Okay. Gee, imagine that. All right. And he never trusted the East Coast establishment. Okay.
Look at MIT. MIT is right in there with 88 other establishments or medical businesses, establishments, and research firms. MIT and et cetera. Like in MK Ultra and in MK Artichoke, I think it was Project Artichoke. And you're going, what? Okay.
Well, remember Fort Devens, Luca? Does that name ring a bell to you?
No.
Okay. About 10 miles outside of Boston. Okay. Fort Devens.
Okay.
That's home of military intelligence. Why would they park it there? Okay. It's been parked there for approximately 200 years. All right. So why would they park it there? Military intelligence, right next to one of the great mind centers. In my mind, yes, MIT and Harvard are the tops. Okay. Yeah, sure, they might be involved in skullduggery, but not like Yale. Okay. Yale is the founder of this type of business.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
This business of subjugating the American people and the American system. All right. This business right here. Okay. And yes, that is what Richard Nixon did not trust, the East Coast establishment. Okay. And he called it absolutely right. It was the CIA that brought him down. Okay. They created Watergate in retaliation because he was stopping the Bush family business of making weapons of mass destruction. Remember, what was it? When W, okay, the village idiot, okay, I can think of another expletives too, but the village idiot says, oh, he's found a new energy source. Okay, it's got to be called nuclear power. All right, remember that? It was just a few years back. Remember that? Okay, all right. And then I heard about a very secret program recently, okay, which is connected recently, okay, and it was to start refining and developing new sources of plutonium. Oh my goodness. Now, what are we using on the battlefield now to turn these battlefields into the most toxic environments on Earth?
Yeah.
Uh-oh, plutonium. Okay. I mean, Kuwait, northern Kuwait, Western Iraq, okay, what is it, Eastern Syria? Guess what? They're glowing now, people.
Yeah.
Your fellow citizens, okay, that are waving the flag. Guess who's responsible for that? The Bush family. Gee, it gets me all goo goo gaga. Okay.
I got to throw this in. Susan Lindauer.
Yes.
Susan Lindauer was given a book, and that book was on depleted uranium. And you're going, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden you hear things happen to her. Like her interview was like 54 minutes. And right in the middle, she starts talking about, oh, and I was given a book. She says, a book on depleted uranium. And she went like that, as if that's where it all started with her. And, there you go.
Yeah.
And then then you study depleted uranium, and then, like me, you trip on somebody called Doug Roque, and it's like then you trip on the 350 tons of depleted uranium munitions that we shot off and shot at each other and shot our own troops with friendly fire. That has a new meaning to it, doesn't it? And no, I was never in the Army. No, I was never in the military service, but I'm honored to be able. I'm allowed, or what's the word? It's an honor to be able to speak of stuff like that with an invited guest like yourself to be able to validate it all,
Well, I can tell you now, you didn't miss much, all right? So, you know, I'd never been in the Army. They ordered me. All of a sudden one day I got a set of orders, okay, about being in the intelligence group for the Army. Okay. I'd never been with the Army in my life. All right. Well, guess what? All of a sudden, here I am in Iraq, and I'm trying to figure out what kind of organization do we have here with all the officers running around. They were chanting. They were chanting. I couldn't figure out what it was, and they kept saying six-figure salary, six-figure salary.
Oh.
That's all they were saying, six-figure salary. Guess what? They don't care who wins the war. That's the thing about our military. They don't really care, just as long as they can expend some munitions, very expensive munitions, and make a whole lot of money for very few people, okay? And everybody, like officers, gets six-figure salaries, okay? That's all it is. Has anybody ever asked the question, why has America not won a war? Okay, we didn't win World War II. Oh, you think so? You think we won World War II? I'm sure the Russians, there's those bad Russians again, would argue that strongly, okay?
Yeah.
We defeated the Japanese. Oh, really? Okay. Let's ask Mr. Bush what happened on Mount Ega with the gold, okay, with the gold that was part of Douglas MacArthur's gold mine and a gold company producing it. Mm-hmm. Care to answer that, Mr. Bush? Okay. Or how about the mysterious attack by the Zero that nobody saw when they were in formation, and Mr. Bush lands his plane in a lagoon and then proceeds to jump out of the plane and drown his own crewmen? Okay. Gosh, that kinder and gentler patrician gentleman, was responsible for that. Of course he was. Jesus, I mean, this goes on and on. And this tells me that our system has been subjugated. Our justice system is subjugated. The U.S. Attorney's Office, somebody can call in and give an explanation of the U.S. Attorney's Office, because if you can't, I can. It is to make sure the U.S. Attorney's Office is there with such luminaries like Gonzalez, okay? What was his first name? Jose? Oh, no, Roberto Gonzalez, Gonzo, as he was fondly called by George W., made sure that the government never is held responsible, to its own laws. That's all they do.
Yeah.
That's all they do. Okay. And you can ask Roberto Gonzalez what happened to the Department of Justice investigation he was involved in before W appointed him to the position of Attorney General. Ask him what happened to that team. Here, it's really easy. None of them are breathing anymore. None of those 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds are alive anymore. They met mysterious deaths. That's how much integrity our U.S. Attorney's Office has. All right?
You were just talking about war, and I had to throw this in. America's been at war 222 out of 239 years since 1776. We've had 17 years of peace since 1776. Okay, let that sink in a minute. There's that quote. I just had to throw that at you because you were just talking about that, and I didn't want you to go talking about something else too far away. One thing that told me that they don't care is when I was going through the 9/11 truth. There's a lot of chapters. There's Larry Silverstein. There's Netanyahu. There's Building 7. There's North Tower, South Tower. There's all kinds of different compartments. Well, that day, it was the hijackers and the Wall Street Journal and the San Francisco Chronicle, and they kind of go, an enormous increase in sales activity, placed 4,744 put options on one airline, and then right before September 10th, taken off again, or in both cases the traders never cashed the winnings, and the FBI was unable to trace these amazingly insightful investors. Right, they were investing on the two airlines on 9/11, and there's proof of it. There's a graph that I have that I show. I might even be showing it right now if I find it. And
Right.
when you think of forethought and foreknowledge to that extent, to be able to profit and make money off the people that you kill, that you know about, but you're going to just shut up and make money on it, right? On American Airlines, 4,416 put options were purchased on American Airlines, compared with 748 calls. On the same day that Reuters reported airline stocks were poised to take off, right? So all of a sudden, this, it doesn't look good. And I can imagine being Phil Marshall and doing the investigating and finding this out, and just wow, that's how big it is. They don't care. They don't.
Okay, they don't care. Here's another thing too. Okay, in U.S. history of the stock exchange, that is the largest put option ever to take place. All right, and that was done by a Mr. Buzz Krongard. Guess who he was previously working for before the luminaries of the CIA took him over? Okay.
There you go.
Yes, he was working for Deutsche Bank. He was vice president of Deutsche Bank. All right.
Slash Alex Brown.
Yes, slash Alex Brown. That's right.
All these names that start popping out, and then you look down, you look further down the rabbit hole, and you got the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, and then you got the NYSE, and then you got, it's so massive. It's so massive. People don't know where to go with all that.
They know where to go, and they know where to go if they start getting investigated. Now, is Mr. Buzz Krongard, okay, Mr. Famous Great White Shark Hunter, okay, do you think that he has seen the inside of prison industries on learning how to make furniture since that day? No. Afraid to disappoint everybody. No, he has not. Okay, and Mr. Deutsche Bank, anybody care to find out where those bearer bonds that were issued, okay, back in WW2, the dream time, okay, anybody care to find out about the Rhineland-Westphalia electric bearer bonds and who they were issued to? Mr. Bush, all right, Mr. Bush, and spread the wealth around, and Mr. Marcos, Ferdinand Marcos, okay, sure, I know, we can find out pretty easily, all right, about all of this, okay, just ask Mr. Phil Marshall. Mr. Phil Marshall, didn't he commit suicide and kill his children? How many, 24 months ago? Something like that? Okay. Actually, it was a little bit more than that. Okay. And was that an Israeli team I saw parked above his house, watching, waiting, okay, to kill the entire family, slaughter the entire family? Okay. It's a bad thing because, unfortunately, he was a neighbor of mine, all right? Guess what, folks? The investigation's still going on. Yes, and if you read the Big Bamboozle, okay, false flag 9/11, you will find out exactly what I'm saying in great detail, to include radar tracings of the planes on 9/11. And I'll add another name to that mess, okay, of 3,000 Americans being slaughtered, okay, about the same number that were slaughtered at Pearl Harbor, okay. I'll add Mr. Philip Jellicoe, you two-faced, vile, traitorous, treasonous son of a bitch, okay. I'll add your name to this whole group of luminaries, all right, Mr. Jellicoe, okay. Yeah, as you completely eviscerated the 9/11 Commission yourself, all right? Got any problems with that? He can call in and tell you he has problems with it, okay? I want to hear from him myself.
I just tweeted him a part of Phil Marshall's book. I thought that was pretty accurate.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah, and the Marshall family was slaughtered because he actually said that. And there, as I said, history goes full circle. When Lieutenant Colonel Tony Schaefer with his group Able Danger came, and we got a briefing at Fort Huachuca in 2000, okay, early July of 2000. Guess what he says? Okay, that the terrorists are training in Pinal Airport, right across the valley from where we were in Huachuca.
Yeah.
Yeah, and guess where they were training? Okay, all right. Yes, he said that. And where did Phil Marshall say they were training? In Pinal Airport. Okay, in Monara, Arizona. All right, just across the valley, you could see it. Okay, when the sun went down, you could see it. Not too far from Tombstone, not too far from Fort Huachuca, Arizona, Sierra Vista, Arizona. Okay, guess what? All right, they were learning how to train, and they trained so well that they could actually give Phil Marshall a run for his money on flying the 767 and the 757. And no, they were not wild-eyed crazies like we've been told so much, in the past. Okay. Yes, George Bush has been lying to the American people. He was responsible. George W. Bush was responsible with Prince Bandar bin al-Sultan for 9/11. And to show you how concerned they are that they're going to be held accountable, Prince Bandar of Saudi Arabia, all right, was sitting on the White House veranda with George W. Bush 36 hours after, when the ruins were still smoking of 9/11 in the World Trade Center, smoking cigars, okay? Yeah, there's a different kind of smoke right there. The smell of cigars, while those people were slaughtered, many of them weren't even dead at that point, okay, were soon to die, and they were congratulating each other. Bush W, okay, not real bright. He didn't think for 1 second that there wouldn't be listening cones, okay, audio cones on him when he was laughing and shucking and jiving with his homeboy, his road dog, that Bar, his mom, Bar, okay. Gee, that's some real maternal instinct there. Barbara Bush has nicknamed Prince Bandar Bush, and they keep a chair for him, at Thanksgiving at the table every year, whether he's there or not. Okay, and then Prince was it Turkey Al Faisal? Okay, Turkey Al Faisal. Okay, the head of Saudi intelligence. Want to get a hold of him and ask him a few questions? I think it's a good idea myself. All right, he's one of the ones that I've always respected because he was a long-serving head of intelligence for Saudi Arabia. Okay, he set it up. All right, he slaughtered, and along with Prince Bandar. Okay, and by the way, I'll put out something I've never put out on the air before. I was in Germany, okay, in the intelligence capacity, and who do I come across when I was looking at some classified papers? Okay, there's the wife of Prince Bandar bin al-Sultan passing funds to known terrorists. All right. Gee, this is pretty amazing stuff. Okay, I'm just a humble civil servant. What do I know? But when I report that stuff, it goes into the great void. All right, it goes into the great void because that's the way this business is. Who cares if a few thousand American lives are lost? Hey, there's big bucks to be made out there. Okay, and it will always be that way. It will always be that way.
So you know what we're going to do? In one show coming up, you just gave me the idea, and I'm going to throw this out on the air. I'm going to be taking different parts of Phil Marshall's book that you sent me so graciously, and we're going to do this in his honor. I'm going to take different parts of it, and I'm going to throw them at you, and you can answer, and you can elaborate, and you can embellish it. And I'll be throwing different ones at you that maybe aren't connected. We can connect the dots ourselves in his honor, doing something even more for these pressing times, because they're so important to get stuff like that out. So we can hit on all kinds of stuff. From look at what we just did with the put options on the two airlines. Look at what we did with Iraq with your story, and how much we're tying everything up. And every time people come back, they always hear the same big words. They always hear Bush. they always hear Bandar. They always hear, you know, there's always the same ring to everything. CIA. Oh, okay. You know, it's all controlled. So this is the way we hook up the pieces with special guests like you, Greg, and words in closing very quickly. I just wanted to give you the last word.
Okay, yes. I have something to say. Like I said, you know, Mr. Trump, right now, as of this moment, he is in trouble. He's in the crosshairs. He better wake up, all right? It's the agency that's going to bag him. They bag presidents for breakfast, okay? And they're getting their orders right now from George H.W. Bush in retaliation for this last election, okay? Just that simple, all right? That's what we're seeing here is it basically a battle between intelligence groups and big weapons of mass destruction producers, okay? Oh, and we won't forget all the drugs that come into this country from Pakistan, okay, from Colombia, places like that. We won't forget that either. But that's what's going on right now.
There's one tiny little paragraph that Phil Marshall talks about, dedicated to Gary Webb, and you should see it. Gary Webb's name is in the corner. On the bottom, it says how he got suicided by two bullets, so incredibly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And another thing too is, yes, this massive intrusion, okay, into the computer database systems of what is it, almost 100 countries now, okay. The last thing I was going to say is, guess what? We have the method of stopping that, okay? And I'll put this out. It's a big expose right now I'm going to give you, okay? Go ahead and pull up all the patents, okay, on computer security. You will find a computer security by the name of Computer Security Device, CSD, all right? And look at that patent and then look to see who is responsible for the inventors. Who are the inventors? Well, you're talking to one of them, all right? The other one is my commander in my intelligence group, all right? We invented the CSD system, and guess what? It's never been breached, it's never been broken, it's never been stopped. You know why it's not being used? Because it works, okay? Does that tell you anything about these hacking systems? We like it that way. America likes hacking into other people's and other countries' phone-based systems, phone communication systems. Hey, folks are already listening to you. They're listening to this show, okay? That's no big deal. But hey, they couldn't if all of a sudden a system that was actually designed for double thinking, for parallel thought process, okay? That's what you have to stop these massive intrusions. Hey, I don't feel comfortable having my name known to at least 100,000 Chinese intelligence operatives, okay? I know it's known to a lot of Russian intelligence operatives, but Chinese intelligence operatives that hacked into our system, that the system didn't even notify me that they had. And that was when I was an intelligence operative back in the dream time, all right? So guess what? It can be stopped. Your government does not want you stopping the hacking system, okay? Yes, and I invite everyone to go look at that patent. Go into the system, Computer Security Device, and Gregory Ford, Frank Gregory Ford, the inventor, all right? So there it is. That's what I have to speak to today about what I read in the news. It's very disturbing, okay? But hey, there's nothing new here, folks. And it's going to stay this way until you put your foot down. You start impeaching people. You start throwing them out of office on their well-groomed monetary dead butts, okay? And that's that, all right? Oh, leaking? Are you kidding me? You know, Donald Trump's worried about leaking? Oh, oh, please. There's the pot calling the kettle black, okay? So on that note, before I get really irritated here, okay, you know, hey, put that out there, and I would love to hear some write-in statements, calls, questions, anything from your listeners, you know, and that's good for me. That calms me down because it lets me know that people are out there are awake and they're thinking. They're not buying the CNN crap. Okay.
That's what we need.
All right. Good. There it is. That's my last word. All right.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. This has been Learn to Unlearn TLBTV production. Thank you so much for watching.
Thank you.